Let's get started with the settings. First of all, we'll go through the focus points. Focus points. Now, if you're wondering what are focus points, these are the tiny square boxes that you see when you see the camera through the viewfinder. You might see them arranged as a diamond, or you might see them arranged as a plus mark, or in like most of the new cameras, they spread all across your viewfinder. These are the points which light up as red or green based on the type of camera that you are using, and it will sound a small beep indicating that the focus has been achieved. Now, what are the different types of focus point and what are the things that you need to be using? Now, what are these focus points and what is the focus point that you need to be using? There are so many combinations of focus point selection that you can do in a given camera, but what I have listed down here are three things which you would probably use in most of the cases. First is a single point focus, wherein you select only a single specific point which will be used to achieve focus while using your camera. In most cases, it will be the center autofocus points. Using the single autofocus point, you can not only frame your subject in the center of the frame, but if you're going for a composition wherein your subject is to the left or right or top or bottom of the viewfinder, you can move the single autofocus point based on what you're shooting. When it comes to multi-zone autofocus points, here is wherein you select a group of autofocus points. So instead of a single autofocus point, which we just referred above, here you're selecting a group, say like 4 or 9 autofocus points, and this will help us based on the size of the subject that you're shooting and what you're viewing in the viewfinder. If the subject is considerably big, we can use a multi-zone autofocus points. If the subject is small or you want a precise focus, you can use a single autofocus point. And the last option is all autofocus points, wherein the camera companies give you an option to enable all the autofocus points, wherein the camera decides based on the distance between the camera and the subject, also based on the contrast of the subject, where to achieve the focus. Now you might be wondering which autofocus point to use and in what situation. Here are the recommendations. If you're photographing a subject which is very prominent in the scene, then I would suggest to use single autofocus point. Single autofocus point can also be used when you're shooting landscapes or architecture. When it comes to the scenarios wherein you see the subject pretty big in the frame, that's when you use multi autofocus points. And as I told you, you can use your joystick at the back of your camera to move this group of autofocus point based on the composition that you want to achieve. Enabling all of the autofocus is something which you use when you're, say, photographing birds which are flying in the sky or something like motorsports. That's exactly the situation wherein you will enable all of the autofocus points. For the best result, I would suggest you to use single autofocus point and especially the center autofocus point. Cameras come with what is known as cross type autofocus point, which are more accurate, and these are the ones which are more concentrated towards the center of the camera sensor. This is something which will come by practice, but the suggestion is always to use a single autofocus point as much as possible.